Thank you, Father Acree, Father Becker, Reverend Fathers, honored guests, my dear brothers, and my fellow Americans. I have to say first that I have not been this nervous since my freshman year of high school when I was in the fall play and I hadn't memorized my lines. The task of preparing this vocation story has not been as easy as expected. I had the privilege of sharing a very brief Cliff Notes version of my vocation story at the Vianney Cup. So now I have to try to make a different angle of my story. I suppose in attempts to make myself seem eloquent, I shall begin with a quote from Mr. Robert Story, who was himself quoting Cole Daly, who was probably quoting someone but not citing his source. And that would be, some of us are born for this. Exhibit A. I have desired to be a priest since the second grade, and the story goes something like this. I was sitting in Mrs. Patasik's class in religion at St. Cyril Methodius School in Lamont, Illinois. It was in February, just after the Christmas season, but before Lent, and we were given a fun assignment to color a picture of a chasuble. And Mrs. Patasik asked us to please color it the proper liturgical color. So most of the kids in my class still thought it was Christmas, so they colored it white or gold, and some kids thought it was already Lent. But I had colored it green, the liturgically proper color. And my teacher, noticing my work, came over and said to me something along the lines of, "Good job, Michael. That's the right color. Maybe you'll be a priest someday." And I said in a very nonchalant manner, "Yeah, I think I want to be a priest." And I've wanted to be one ever since. That same innocent and true story, that same desire, has never left me through the years, though there have been brief bouts of kidding myself and running from the call. There were times where I was embarrassed that I wanted to be a priest, and there were times, especially in high school, where I only wanted to be perceived as something I was not. In high school, I became very active in theater and became proficient in the art of wearing a mask. I would create a character after character in my plays, while in reality, I fashioned a person who was likable, popular, and definitely not me. It took my whole first year of seminary to quit playing Mike McMahon and instead to be Mike McMahon. Despite my feeble attempts to run from him, I really never got far away from the Lord or his church. I mean, just look at me. It's not hard to catch me. I will say again that it really has always been my desire to be a priest. Sometimes because it made sense, sometimes because it just felt right, and sometimes, well, to whom else shall I go? I have seen the church as my mother, my protector, my formator, my treasure, my lifeline, my boast, my love, and now the Lord has asked me to behold his very own bride. I cannot say no. In fact, it is my deepest desire to say yes. I lay down my life, though incredibly imperfectly, for his own bride, to receive the gift of celibacy, and to be able to love every family as if they were my own, because they will be my own. Like many immigrant families, my family, the generation that has moved away, tends to be more zealous than their counterparts who haven't left the country. This was manifested in my life through slightly tacky but honest decorations that are found around the McMahon house. One of those decorations is known as the Claddagh emblem. It features the hands holding a crowned heart, and I brought a prop. Often the words friendship, loyalty, and love are written around it. The story is that there was a man in Ireland who was kidnapped, and he was a goldsmith, and he created a ring for his beloved fiancée, and the heart represented love, and the hands represented friendship, and the crown was loyalty. And they said as long as they both had worn these rings, they'd be faithful to each other, and when he finally returned, they would be married. Well, every day walking downstairs from my house, this was on the wall, this beautiful symbol with the words friendship, loyalty, and love. This Irish tradition has influenced me very deeply, perhaps subconsciously, reading it every day as I come down the stairs. I adopted these three things as my most cherished values: friendship with Jesus Christ and devotion to his most sacred heart, loyalty to his bride, the Holy Catholic Church, and love, charity and generosity to all men. Jesus used these three things to calm my own heart, to dupe me, to respond to my most noble desires, to hear my heart's desire for greatness, to serve the Lord at the altar of God as a victim for the salvation of souls. But despite that, I am quite weak. In my seminary formation so far, I have learned one very encouraging thing. I have a good friend in the gospel. I have discovered that I am Peter. No, not the Star Trekkie, nor the really tall, loud guy. I mean the apostle. Every day, I stand on the shores of Galilee with my pale northern European skin getting burnt in the Mediterranean heat. I work hard trying to fish for holiness all by myself. When the Lord calls out to me, "Put out into the deep, let your nets down for a catch," my response is typically prideful and patronizing. "Listen, Jesus, I've been working on this for a while now, and let me tell you, there's no fish to be caught here. But just to prove it and to please you, I'll try one more time." And what does he do to me? He rips my nets. I stand there humiliated and shameful. I drag my butt back to shore, and I kneel there and confess to him, "Lord, I'm not worth it. I'm not worthy of your gifts. Leave me, Lord, for I am a sinful man." Now, in the book Simon Peter, Monsignor George Chevreau, the author, imagines Peter throwing himself at the feet of Jesus, holding him by the knees, saying, "Leave me to myself, Lord, for I am a sinful man," while actually grabbing him tighter. Jesus always looks down on me, half smiling, eyes filled with pity, and says, "Get up, come, follow me." My brothers, do not fall into a disorder that I have named hyper-discerner syndrome. Marriage and priesthood are both tremendous joys with their own crosses. But don't worry. Go about your work with love, laughter, and loyalty. And someday, sooner or later, perhaps like myself long ago in second grade, you'll hear our friend the Master call and say, "Cast out into the deep. Come, follow me." And my prayer is that your answer could only be, "Lord, to whom else shall we go? You have the words of everlasting life." Praise be Jesus Christ. Now and forever.